Good evening, I'm Bill Sharp.
And I'm Debbie Chard. Here's what's making news at this hour. We're entering the 36th day of war in the Persian Gulf tonight, and still no ground war.
Debbie, we don't know right now if the ground war is imminent or if it has been delayed. Here's what we do know. Our troops are standing by on alert as daybreak nears in Saudi Arabia. They are waiting for the word for a ground war to start. Now, top U.S. officials say the word could come at any moment, or it could be 48 hours from now, or it just may not come. We just don't know. Right now, Debbie, it is still a wait-and-see approach.
Let's go live to Saudi Arabia.
All right, let's go to Jay Levine live at Dhahran, Saudi Arabia.
Thursday morning dawning here in Saudi Arabia with military commanders calling the Iraqi army on the verge of collapse, yet still preparing for the worst. Sources say Iraqi commanders have been issued chemical weapons and permission to use them. And U.S. troops preparing to storm the border will be wearing full chemical gear and gas masks. Special security being set up at Patriot bases and other key locations for expected terrorist attacks. But it was an attack by U.S. helicopters on a series of bunkers inside Kuwait that led to surrenders of 300 to 500 Iraqi troops on Wednesday. Up at the border, Marines are blasting the Iraqis not with bullets, but with loud music and messages offering good treatment in return for surrender. Arabic phrase books are being used up there as well to help with defectors. The one group of about a dozen which came over on Wednesday night were greeted with yells of halt and the cocking of weapons. Those defectors quickly went back across the border. Military commanders here say the morale of the Iraqi troops is dropping steadily, and they're wondering openly on Wednesday if the Iraqis have lost their will to fight. This is Jay Levine reporting live from Saudi Arabia. Now back to you.
All right, Jay, thanks a lot for that live report. Coming tonight, our time, the morning in the time in Saudi Arabia. The Soviets are still waiting for a response from Iraq tonight on the possible peace plan to end that Gulf War. Iraq is saying it will respond soon. But according to officials from the United States, from France, and Britain, Iraq will not agree to the plan unconditionally. But just as Iraq may not accept the plan without conditions, Secretary of State James Baker continues to say, our country, the United States, will not accept any conditions on the Iraqi withdrawal from Kuwait. It must be a complete withdrawal.
Iraq must leave Kuwait immediately, totally, and unconditionally, and Iraq must comply fully with the other applicable Security Council resolutions. Anything short of that is unacceptable.
Baker also says the United States did not start this war, but he says, and I quote here, we will finish it.
Tonight, Allied and Iraqi troops are clashing in fierce border fighting as the tempo of combat speeds up. A team of scout helicopters flying inside the Iraqi border uncovered a complex of enemy bunkers today. 300 to 500 enemy troops gave up almost before the battle began.
They called in the Apaches, they started shooting it up, and it sounds to me like the occupiers of those bunkers, after 13 to 15 were destroyed, decided that they had had enough of this game, and they started waving white flags, white socks, whatever.
This is the third large surrender in the last several days. Also today, one American was lost, 7 others were wounded when artillery fired on a Vulcan anti-aircraft gun crew. The Americans claim they took out 7 enemy tanks in the same battle. British crews today joined in shoot and scoot raids up and down the border with artillery and armor-piercing rockets. Joining us again tonight is our military analyst, Charlie Thompson.
Mr. Thompson, if and when a ground war attack should come from the Allied forces anytime soon, do you expect this is where we will see Iraq pull out its stock of chemical weapons against the Allied forces?
Well, like I told you last week when you asked me to predict, today was the best time to go. Around 6 to 8 o'clock our time would have been the time to go. So they could go any time now. And the things that are going on right now tell us that they're working their way up. They're looking for those little openings that will allow them to go in. Now, on the chemical weapons, as I told you, the Army tells you what's going on. If you remember Kafji, look at those pictures of those soldiers, and none of them have that characteristic little side thing which says they had their gas mask with them. So I have a sneaking suspicion, no matter what our people are saying about our guys are crossing the line with gas masks and full chemical warfare, you don't wear those things unless you absolutely have to. So maybe 1 or 2 of the guys in certain areas may be going in, but I really don't think they will be wearing the equipment. They may have it handy, but they don't. The Army's telling me they don't expect chemical weapons to be used right away.
One of the reasons you had predicted that if a ground war would begin, it would start as early as today. was the weather, and the weather being a factor. And considering there may be a storm coming up this weekend, is it now too late for the war, ground war to begin?
Okay, it could still go. Quite frankly, the timing of the Iraqi foreign minister saying, oops, I can't come to Moscow today, wait until tomorrow, that looked like your classical delay where they can read a weather map just as well as I can, and they really would like this next storm front to come in. Your Mike Hyatt called it very well for me. You know, I said, tell me when I'm going to get a 3-4 day break in the weather, and he said it will start on the 19th or 20th. So I said they'll go on the 20th. That's when they have to go.
Quickly, if we go in, Mr. Thompson, soon, do you think we will stop with Kuwait, or will we go all the way through and try to, say, go to Baghdad?
What you're going to find is a lot of people are sort of holding their breath right now. If the United States goes into Iraq to make that big looping move around, we'll all breathe a sigh of relief. If they stay inside Kuwait, you're going to hear people whisper Vietnam, and they're going to whisper it loud.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Well, the pace of the war has picked up noticeably within the past 24 hours. As Moscow and the world now waits impatiently, Iraq says an answer to the Soviet peace offer will come soon. Meantime, an American is dead tonight after fierce fighting along the border today.
Three more
South Carolina state representatives have been indicted in Operation Lost Trust tonight. State Representatives Paul Derrick and Frank McBride of Columbia, as well as James Faber from Eastover, were indicted today in the FBI's boat-buying sting operation, which is continuing. U.S. officials say Faber and McBride have resigned their positions at the State House. 3 lobbyists were also indicted on drug charges. Before today, 11 legislators have been indicted. 7 have either pleaded guilty or been convicted, and 4 are awaiting trial tonight.
A North Charleston man is in the hospital tonight after being shot. Police say James Williams of Bonds Avenue was shot once in the buttocks. He was transported to the medical university. Police are searching for 3 black men suspected in that incident. Charleston police tonight are investigating a 2-car crash on James Island. Officials say one of the cars was going about 70 miles an hour and ran into a second car. The accident happened about 5:30 this evening on the corner of Grimble and Folly Roads. Police say the second car failed to stop for a stop sign. They say the driver of the second car was spared more serious injuries because she was protected by an airbag. Both victims were taken to area hospitals.
Well, tonight is the biggest night of the year for the music industry as the Grammy Awards were announced, but one local radio station isn't celebrating at all tonight because Q107, you see, is off the air. The station is apparently having financial problems because it's in the process of being sold. Tonight, Q107's nighttime DJ, the Birdman, told us, quote, the station will never be the same, even if the sale goes through.
19 people are confirmed dead tonight after a plane carrying mostly American tourists crashed in southern Chile. Authorities say the plane crashed into a channel, the water, right after takeoff. A total of 54 people have been rescued. 14 people have been reported as injured. The Soviet Union questions an arms treaty.
And thousands rally in Albania during demonstrations today. Here's what's happening around the world in 80 seconds. Up to 100,000 people stormed the central square in Tirana, Albania today in a demonstration for independence. The Albanians tore down a giant statue of their late Stalinist leader, while security forces tried to rout them with plastic bullets fired from helicopters. The Soviet Union is reluctant to comply with a U.S.-Soviet agreement to destroy most superpower chemical weapons. The Soviets are concerned about the timing of the destruction of the chemical weapons. NASA is reporting tonight it has not found any cracks on space shuttles other than the Discovery. Cracks on door hinges on the Discovery could delay the liftoff by at least a month. If the hinges aren't sealed tightly, the intense heat of re-entering the atmosphere could destroy the shuttle. Michigan's ban on state-funded abortions has been declared unconstitutional. The Michigan Court of Appeals decided the ban violated the rights of a 15-year-old gang rape victim who became pregnant. And that's a look at what's happening around the world in 80 seconds.
From winter to spring to summer, all within 1 week. What will tomorrow's weather hold?
I'm not even sure Mike knows about that, but he thinks he does. He's next with his 5-day forecast when the news on your 24-hour news source continues.